The vastness of the galaxy stretched before Captain Helena Rourke as she gazed through the main viewport of the Argos. Stars scattered like diamond dust across the black canvas of space, each representing potential civilizations, alliances, and empires that had formed over countless millennia. The human race had only recently joined this galactic community, and like all newcomers, they were treated with a mixture of curiosity and dismissal. Humanity was considered a young species, their resources limited, their influence negligible among the ancient powers that dominated interstellar politics. Helena turned from the viewport, her weathered face reflecting years of challenging missions and narrow escapes. Her crew respected her, not for empty words or gestures, but for her ability to bring them home alive when the odds said otherwise. "Captain, we're receiving the final coordinates now," called Lieutenant Merrick from the navigation console. "Baron X-17 appears to be a dusty rock on the galaxy's outer rim." Helena nodded, brushing a strand of auburn hair behind her ear. "What's so special about a forgotten planet that Earth Command wants us to investigate?" Dr. Renishita looked up from his data pad, excitement brightening his youthful features. The archaeologist had been brought onto this mission specifically for his expertise in ancient civilizations, though many questioned the value of such knowledge in the age of interstellar travel. The observatory station detected an unusual energy signature, Dr. Ishida explained. "It doesn't match any known pattern in the database. They believe it might be ancient." Gideon Ward scoffed from his tactical station. The battle-scarred officer had survived 3 border conflicts and had little patience for what he called digging expeditions. "Ancient garbage is still garbage," he muttered, checking the ship's defensive systems out of habit. "We're wasting valuable time and resources that could be better spent reinforcing our borders." Helena silenced him with a glance. "Those are our orders, Commander Ward. Earth Command wouldn't send us without reason." As the Argos altered course toward the desolate planet, Helena couldn't shake the feeling that this mission would be different. Little did she know that the dusty world ahead would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. The descent to Baron X-17 was unremarkable. The planet's thin atmosphere offered minimal resistance as the Argos settled onto a vast plain of rust-colored dust. Views from external cameras showed a lifeless landscape stretching to the horizon. Rolling dunes interrupted occasionally by jagged rock formations that jutted like broken teeth from the planet's surface. "Atmospheric analysis complete," announced the environmental officer. "Oxygen levels at 18%. Breathable but thin. Surface temperature hovering around 15 Celsius. No detectable biological activity." Helena nodded. "Prep the ground team. Standard exploration protocol." "Dr. Ishida, Commander Ward, you're with me." Within the hour, the exploration party stepped onto the planet's surface. Their boots sank slightly into the fine dust that seemed to swallow sound itself. The silence was profound, a heavy, expectant quiet that made even the veterans uneasy. "The energy signature is coming from that direction," Dr. Ishida said, pointing toward a shallow depression about half a kilometer away. "Readings suggest it's subsurface." The team trudged across the barren landscape, scanning instruments humming softly. As they approached the depression, Helena noticed unusual formations beneath the dust, too regular to be natural. "Stop," she commanded. "Everyone hold position." She knelt, brushing away the accumulated dust of perhaps millions of years. Beneath her gloved fingers, a smooth surface emerged, artificial, with angular patterns etched into its dark surface. Dr. Ishida gasped, kneeling beside her. "This is manufactured. And look at the patterns, they're not random." His fingers traced the etched lines reverently. "These could be symbols, perhaps a form of writing." "How old?" Helena asked, a strange chill running down her spine despite her environmental suit's temperature regulation. Dr. Ishida scanned the surface with his equipment. "Preliminary dating suggests millions of years. Captain, this predates any known civilization in the galaxy." Commander Ward, who had been surveying the perimeter, called out, "Captain, you need to see this." They followed him to the edge of what they now realized was an enormous buried structure. Ward had cleared more dust, revealing a series of relief carvings along what appeared to be a wall. The carvings depicted bipedal figures with distinctive features that made Helena's breath catch. "They look human," she whispered. Dr. Ishida was frantically recording everything. "This challenges every established theory. No species we've encountered shares our exact physiological structure, and humanity is supposed to have evolved on Earth. Yet these depictions could be coincidence," Ward suggested, but his usually skeptical voice lacked conviction. As they continued clearing the area, they uncovered what appeared to be an entrance, a massive doorway leading down into darkness. The team set up illumination arrays, revealing a staircase descending into the planet's depths. "Should we proceed, Captain?" asked one of the security officers. Helena hesitated only briefly. "We came to investigate. Let's investigate." As they prepared to descend, Dr. Ishida approached a panel beside the entrance, brushing away layers of dust. His touch, seemingly innocent, activated something ancient. With a low rumble that they felt through their boots, the massive doors began to slide open automatically, revealing a corridor that had remained sealed for eons. The darkness beyond seemed to beckon them, promising answers to questions they hadn't even thought to ask. Helena activated her comm link to the Argos. "Ground team to Argos. We've discovered an artificial structure of significant age with unexpected characteristics. We're proceeding with interior exploration. Maintain open communications." The response came back instantly. "Acknowledged, Captain. Be careful down there." Helena nodded to her team. "Let's make history." The descent into the ancient complex was like entering another world. Their footsteps echoed through corridors that had known only silence for millions of years. Dust motes danced in the beams of their lights, disturbed for the first time since the complex had been abandoned. "The architecture is remarkably preserved," Dr. Ishida noted, his voice hushed with reverence. "Whatever materials they used have resisted degradation far better than anything in our current engineering capabilities." The corridors seemed to stretch endlessly, branching into rooms and halls of various sizes. Most contained nothing but dust, but occasionally they found remnants of what might have been furniture or equipment, now so degraded that their original purpose was impossible to determine. "Captain, look at this," Ward called from an adjacent room. He stood before a wall covered in more of the strange symbols they had seen outside. But here, among the text-like markings, were unmistakable images of stars, planetary systems, and what appear to be ships. Massive vessels dwarfing anything in the current human fleet. "It's like a historical record," Dr. Ishida breathed, scanning the wall with trembling hands. "If I'm interpreting these stellar configurations correctly, these show star systems across the entire galaxy." Helena felt a growing sense of unreality. "Are you suggesting that whoever built this place had mapped the entire galaxy? Millions of years ago?" "Not just mapped it," Dr. Ishida replied, his voice filled with wonder. "Look at these recurring symbols next to each system. I think they were claiming ownership. These weren't explorers, Captain. They were conquerors, rulers." As they ventured deeper, the corridors suddenly brightened, dim ceiling lights flickering to life as if responding to their presence. The team froze, weapons raised instinctively. "Some kind of automated system," Helena observed after a tense moment. "Still operational after all this time." They continued with increased caution until they reached what appeared to be a central chamber. Unlike the relatively austere corridors, this room featured elaborate decorations, more relief carvings covering the walls, but rendered with greater detail and artistry. And at the center of the chamber stood a pedestal upon which rested a spherical device about the size of a human head. Dr. Ishida approached it carefully. "This is the source of the energy signature. It's emitting a low-level pulse, almost like a heartbeat." The sphere was covered in the same symbols they had seen throughout the complex, but more densely packed, more intricate. Around its equator ran a band of larger symbols that seemed to glow faintly from within. It looks like it was designed to be interacted with, Dr. Ishida said, studying it without touching. These symbols here, they're different from the others. There might be some kind of interface. Don't touch anything, Helena warned. We should document everything first But Dr. Ishida had already reached out, his scientific curiosity overcoming caution. His finger brushed one of the glowing symbols, and the sphere immediately responded. Light erupted from its surface, filling the chamber with a blinding blue-white glow. Everyone's communications equipment emitted a sharp squeal of feedback before going silent. Ishida, Helena shouted, but her voice was drowned in the sudden surge of energy that filled the room. For a moment that seemed both instantaneous and eternal, Dr. Ishida stood frozen, his eyes wide, his body rigid as if receiving an electric current. Then the light receded, condensing back into the sphere, which now pulsed with a steady, stronger rhythm. Dr. Ishida collapsed to his knees, gasping. Helena and Ward rushed to him. What happened? Are you hurt? Helena demanded, checking him for injuries. I saw. Ishida's voice was barely a whisper. I saw them. I saw us. What are you talking about? Ward asked, helping the scientist to his feet. The builders of this place, Ishida said, his eyes unfocused as if still seeing the visions. They were human, Captain. Or perhaps we are them. I saw massive ships, thousands of worlds under their control. Humanity ruling the stars. That's impossible, Ward stated flatly. We've only been in space for a few centuries. What we know as human history. Ishida's voice strengthened as the shock began to wear off. It might only be the latest chapter. What if we're not the new species everyone thinks we are? What if we're the oldest? What if we once ruled and then forgot? Before Helena could respond, their communications crackled back to life. The voice of the Argos' first officer came through, tense with urgency. Captain, the sphere, whatever Dr. Ishida activated, it's broadcasting. We're detecting a signal pulsing out from the planet, strong enough to reach halfway across the galaxy. Helena's blood ran cold. We're leaving. Now, bring the sphere carefully. As they prepare to transport the device, Ward noticed something alarming. Along the walls of the chamber, lines of light were appearing, running through the ancient symbols like electric current through circuits. The entire complex was coming alive around them. Move, Helena ordered, and no one needed to be told twice. They made their way back through the corridors at a near run, the sphere secured in a containment field. Behind them, more systems were activating, lights brightening, hidden mechanisms humming to life after millions of years of dormancy. When they finally emerged onto the planet's surface, they were greeted by an eerie sight. Across the dusty landscape, similar lines of light were spreading outward from the complex like veins carrying luminescence across the dead world. Argos, prepare for immediate departure, Helena commanded into her comm. We're coming home, and we're bringing company. As the Argos lifted off from Baron X-17, none of its crew realized that the signal emanating from the awakened complex was already reaching the furthest corners of the galaxy, carrying a message that would shake the foundations of galactic power. The first race has returned. In the command center of the Karn Empire's primary military installation, alarms blared. The reptilian warriors moved with disciplined precision despite their massive frames, their scaled skin reflecting the red emergency lighting. General Scarth, his crest fully extended in alarm, studied the readings on the main tactical display. Verify this, he commanded, his voice a rumbling growl that silenced the bustling command center. The sensor officer, a younger Karn with duller scales, worked quickly. Confirmed, General. The signal matches patterns in the ancient protocol archives. It's the awakening call of the first race. Murmurs spread through the command center despite strict military discipline. The first race was little more than legend to most. Stories of a civilization so advanced and so powerful that they had once dominated the galaxy completely before mysteriously vanishing millions of years ago. Impossible, Scarth snarled. The first race is extinct. This must be some new weapon or trick. The authentication codes are ancient but intact, the officer insisted. And the signal originated from Sector 87X, a region with no current strategic value. General Scarth's inner eyelids flickered, a sign of deep thought among his kind. Dispatch scout vessels. I want confirmation. There's more, the officer added, his voice dropping. The signal was activated by a ship identified as human. Scarth's massive tail slammed against the floor, cracking the polished surface. Humans? Those primitive mammals barely managing interstellar travel? You expect me to believe they have connection to the first race. But despite his outward dismissal, a cold dread settled in the general's hearts. The ancient archives had been clear. If the first race ever returned, all other powers in the galaxy would once again be subjugated or exterminated. Prepare 2 destroyer-class vessels, he ordered. Find that human ship. Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. In the living vessels of the Valari Ascendancy, the semi-organic ships pulsed with renewed urgency as dormant protocols activated throughout their collective consciousness. The Grey Council, meeting in their hidden space station at the galaxy's edge, broke into chaos as ancient warning systems, maintained more out of tradition than expectation, suddenly flared. To life. Across thousands of worlds, across dozens of species and empires, one message became clear. Something ancient had awakened. And humanity, the supposedly young, supposedly insignificant species, had somehow triggered it. Aboard the Argos, tension mounted. The ship's systems had suffered minor disruptions ever since they'd brought the sphere aboard. Navigation kept experiencing momentary glitches, and communications occasionally picked up strange echoes, as if someone or something was listening in. In the ship's lab, Dr. Ishida studied the sphere, which now pulsed with a steady rhythm of light. It's remarkable, he told Helena and Ward. The technology is beyond anything I've ever encountered, yet somehow familiar. It's as if it was designed to be intuitive to human cognition. What exactly did you see when you touched it? Helena asked, keeping a safe distance from the device. Ishida's eyes took on that distant look again. Visions. Flashes. Massive cities spanning entire continents. Ships that could envelope our largest vessels like a mother cradling an infant. And humans, or beings that looked exactly like humans, commanding it all. He paused, struggling to articulate. It felt like memories. Not information being given to me, but something being awakened within me. Ward scoffed. You're suggesting this thing contains the collective memory of some ancient human empire? That's absurd. Is it? Ishida challenged. Consider the facts. A structure millions of years old containing imagery of humans, technology that responds specifically to human touch, and now visions of human dominance across the stars. What if humanity didn't evolve solely on Earth? What if we're much, much older than we think? Even if that were true, Helena interjected, why would we have no record of it? How could an entire species forget its history? Catastrophe, Ishida suggested. Something so devastating that civilization had to begin again. The survivors, reduced to primitive conditions, eventually losing all knowledge of their origins. Their discussion was interrupted by an urgent call from the bridge. Captain, we've detected 2 vessels on an intercept course. Configuration matches Karn Empire destroyer-class ships. Helena's expression hardened. Battle stations. Ishida, secure that device. Ward, I need you on tactical. By the time Helena reached the bridge, the situation had deteriorated further. The Karn vessels were closing fast, their weapons systems active. They're hailing us, the communications officer reported. On screen, Helena ordered, straightening her uniform. The screen flickered to life, revealing the imposing figure of a Karn commander. 9 feet of armored reptilian warrior, teeth bared in what might have been a smile or a threat display. Human vessel, the Karn growled. You have recovered an artifact of significant danger. Surrender it immediately, or we will destroy your ship. Helena kept her expression neutral. This is Captain Helena Rourke of the Earth vessel Argos. We're on a scientific mission in unclaimed space. Under what authority do you demand anything of us?" The Karn's laugh was like rocks grinding together. "Authority? I have 2 destroyer-class warships against your single exploration vessel. That is all the authority I require." Helena glanced at Ward, who had taken his position at tactical. He gave her a subtle nod, a signal that he had assessed their options and found at least one worth trying. "We require time to prepare the artifact for transfer," Helena told the Karn commander. "Its energy field is unstable. You have 10 minutes, the Karn stated flatly before terminating the transmission. The moment the screen went dark, Helena turned to her crew. "Ward, what are our chances?" "Conventional combat?" "0," he replied honestly. "But there's an asteroid field that coordinates 227 Mark 43. If we can reach it, we might be able to evade long enough to make a run for Earth space." Helena nodded. "Helm, set course, full impulse. Wait for my mark." For 9 tense minutes, the Argos remained stationary. Then, just as the Karn deadline approached, Helena gave the order. Now, the Argos surged forward, not toward the Karn vessels as they might have expected for a transfer, but away at maximum speed. The sudden maneuver caught the Karn by surprise, giving the Earth ship precious seconds of head start. "They're in pursuit," Ward reported, watching the tactical display. "And they're faster than we are. Intercept in 3 minutes." Helena gripped the arms of her command chair. "Push the engines beyond safety protocols. We need every second." The ship shuddered as its engines strained beyond their design capacity. The asteroid field loomed ahead, a chaotic jumble of rocks ranging from car size to small moon dimensions. 50 seconds to intercept, Ward warned. "They're charging weapons." The first energy blast from the lead Karn ship grazed the Argos' aft shields, causing power fluctuations throughout the vessel. Warning indicators flashed across every console. "Shield capacity down to 60%, the engineering officer reported. "We can't take many hits like that." They were seconds from the asteroid field when disaster struck. A direct hit to their starboard engine housing reduced their speed by half. The Karn ships closed rapidly, weapons preparing for a killing blow. Then something unexpected happened. In the lab where Dr. Ishida had been studying the sphere, the ancient device suddenly pulsed with intense light. Throughout the ship, systems that had been damaged suddenly restored themselves. Power levels surged beyond normal capacity. On the bridge, Helena watched in astonishment as dead consoles sprang back to life and engine output doubled, then tripled. "What's happening?" she demanded. The engineering officer shook his head in disbelief. "Unknown, Captain. It's as if something is interfacing directly with our systems, enhancing them beyond design specifications." The Argos leapt forward with renewed power, outpacing the surprise Karn vessels and plunging into the asteroid field. With their newfound speed and responsiveness, the Earth ship navigated the dangerous obstacles with astonishing agility, leaving their pursuers struggling to follow. The sphere, Helena realized, it's helping us. By the time they emerged from the far side of the asteroid field, they had lost their pursuers. The enhanced systems gradually returned to normal parameters, leaving the crew stunned and confused. Helena immediately contacted the lab. "Ishida, what just happened?" Dr. Ishida's voice came back, filled with excitement. "The sphere interfaced with our ship, Captain. It's not just a data storage device. It's an advanced AI or guidance system, and it recognized our technology as compatible despite the millions of years of difference." "You're saying this ancient device recognized our ship as friendly?" Helena asked incredulously. "More than friendly," Ishida replied. "I think it recognized us as its rightful owners." The implications hung in the silence that followed. If Ishida was right, it meant humanity's connection to this ancient technology was no coincidence. It meant everything they thought they knew about their place in the galaxy might be wrong. What they didn't know was that their narrow escape had only confirmed the fears spreading across the galaxy. Two facts now circulated through every major power. First, the humans possessed an artifact of the first race. And second, that artifact had demonstrated its power by enabling a single exploration vessel to evade two modern warships. The humans weren't just carriers of ancient technology, they could use it. Emergency sessions were called in every major government. Fleets were mobilized. Old rivalries were temporarily set aside. For if the legends were true, if humanity truly was connected to the first race, then a new era of subjugation might be dawning for all non-human species. The message spread rapidly. Stop the humans before they fully awaken their heritage. Stop them at any cost. The Argos raced toward Earth, pushing its engines to their limits. After their encounter with the Karn vessels, Helena had ordered a direct course home, recognizing that what they carried was too important and too dangerous to risk losing. Multiple ships detected on long-range sensors, the tactical officer reported grimly. Configurations match vessels from at least 4 different species, all converging on our heading. Helena's jaw tightened. What had begun as a simple exploratory mission had somehow turned into a desperate race, with the fate of humanity potentially hanging in the balance. Send an encrypted message to Earth Command, she ordered. Priority Alpha. Tell them. She paused, considering her words carefully. Tell them we've awakened something ancient. Tell them to prepare for possible hostilities on an unprecedented scale. As the Argos approached the outer reaches of the solar system, the situation became increasingly clear. Their long-range sensors detected more and more ships entering the region, a gathering armada representing nearly every major power in the known galaxy. They're forming a blockade around our system, Ward observed, studying the tactical display with growing concern. Starting at Pluto's orbit and working inward, they mean to contain us. Helena turned to Dr. Ishida, who had joined them on the bridge. Whatever this artifact is, whatever message it's sent, it's made us a target for the entire galaxy. Why? What does it mean to them? Ishida's expression was troubled. I've been analyzing the symbols on the sphere, cross-referencing them with known linguistic patterns. I believe the device is part of a weapons thought system, perhaps an ancient AI, created by what the symbols refer to as the ancestor humans. When activated, it sent out what amounts to an authentication signal, identifying its user, us, as the rightful heirs to whatever power it represents. And every other species recognizes that signal, Helena concluded. They know what it means, even if we don't yet. Precisely. In their historical records, this signal likely represents the return of the dominant power, their former overlords. Ishida hesitated. In my vision, I saw humans ruling across the stars. What if that wasn't metaphorical? What if we really did once rule everything? Ward shook his head in disbelief. And now every non-human species in the galaxy is coming to make sure we don't reclaim that throne. Earth received the Argos' warning with appropriate alarm. The United Earth Command mobilized every available ship, establishing defensive perimeters throughout the solar system. But the reality was stark. Humanity's fleet, while respectable, was technologically outmatched by most of the gathering forces. If it came to open conflict, Earth stood little chance. As the Argos approached the inner system, scout ships reported the grim news. Hundreds of warships had formed a perimeter around Earth's orbital paths, with more arriving hourly. The Karn Empire, the Valari Ascendancy, and dozens of other powers had set aside their differences in the face of what they perceived as an existential threat. When the Argos finally reached Earth orbit, Helena was immediately summoned to an emergency session of the United Earth Command. The sphere, now contained in the most secure facility available, was undergoing intensive study. The situation is unprecedented, Admiral Zhao began once the session was underway. We face a united front of virtually every galactic power. Their combined fleet outnumbers ours by at least 20 to 1, with superior technology in almost every category. Have they made any demands? Helena asked. Just one, the Admiral replied grimly. Complete surrender of the artifact and all data related to it. They've made it clear that refusal will result in the neutralization of Earth. Dr. Ishida, who had been invited to present his findings, spoke up. With respect, Admiral, surrendering the sphere would be a catastrophic mistake. It's not just an artifact. It's the key to our heritage, perhaps the technologies that rightfully belong to humanity. I'm not inclined to hand over anything to a fleet threatening our homeworld, Admiral Zhao assured him. But we need options beyond certain destruction. It was Helena who proposed the bold plan. What if we connect the sphere to our planetary defense grid? Dr. Ishida believes it's designed to interface with human technology. If it enhanced the Argos' systems during our escape, imagine what it might do for our entire defense network. The room fell silent as the implications settled. It was an enormous risk. Connecting an alien device of unknown power to the systems protecting Earth could backfire catastrophically. But faced with annihilation, risks became necessities. How soon can this be attempted? Admiral Zhao asked. The interface protocols would need to be adapted, Dr. Ishida replied. But with the right team, hours, not days. The Admiral nodded. Make it happen, and pray it works. As Earth prepared its desperate gambit, the alien fleet moved closer. Ultimatums were delivered. Surrender the first race technology or face extinction. Earth's response was diplomatic stalling, buying precious time as scientists worked frantically to interface the ancient sphere with modern systems. In a secure facility beneath the North American continent, Dr. Ishida led the effort, his hands moving with fevered precision across control surfaces. The sphere's energy signature is compatible with our quantum networks, he explained to Helena and the military observers. But it's requiring genetic authentication. Meaning what? Ward asked. He had been assigned to oversee security for the project, a role he embraced with grim determination. It's scanning for specific genetic markers, Ishida clarified. Human DNA patterns. It's designed to be used only by those it recognizes as authorized operators, humans. After hours of tense work, the moment of truth arrived. Earth's defensive grid momentarily powered down as connections to the sphere were established. For a terrifying few seconds, the planet was virtually defenseless. Then, responding to the genetic signatures of the humans surrounding it, the sphere activated. Energy surged through Earth's defense systems, transforming them. Weapon emplacements that had been state-of-the-art suddenly seemed primitive in comparison to what they became. Shield generators tripled in efficiency. Sensor arrays extended their range tenfold. It's working, Ishida breathed, watching the transformation spread across global networks. The ancient system is upgrading ours, making them compatible with first-race specifications. On the tactical displays, Earth's defensive capabilities, reconfigured before their eyes. What had been a hopelessly outmatched planetary defense system was rapidly becoming something the Gathering Armada would have to take seriously. Send word to the Argos, Helena instructed. They're to join the front line. Whatever enhancements the sphere provided before, they may still carry them. As predicted, the alien coalition was not content to wait. Seeing the unexpected power surge across Earth's defenses, they launched their attack, believing it better to strike before the humans could fully harness whatever ancient technology they had unearthed. Hundreds of warships descended upon Earth's defensive perimeter. Energy weapons capable of shattering moons targeted the planet's surface. But they met resistance unlike anything they had anticipated. Earth's newly enhanced shields absorbed the initial barrage without faltering. Its weapons, now operating on principles lost for millions of years, created energy vortices that disrupted enemy formations and nullified their shields with targeted pulses. The Argos, now functioning as a command vessel at the forefront of Earth's fleet, demonstrated maneuverability and firepower that belied its original design specifications. Helena, drawing on instincts she hadn't known she possessed, coordinated attack patterns that seemed to anticipate enemy movements before they occurred. Gideon Ward, commanding a squadron of fighters, discovered that the pilots under his command were performing with uncanny precision, as if the ancient technology had awakened something within them. Muscle memory passed down through countless generations, dormant until now. Yet despite these advantages, Earth still faced overwhelming numbers. The planet's defenses held, but peripheral outposts and orbital stations fell one by one. Casualties mounted as the battle stretched from hours into days. The alien coalition, realizing the humans were stronger than anticipated, committed more forces, determined to end the threat of the first race's return once and for all. They're concentrating their attack on the North American defense grid, Ward reported during a brief lull. His face was haggard from days without proper rest. If they break through there, they'll have a direct shot at the facility housing the sphere. Helena studied the tactical situation. Earth was holding, but barely. Their enhanced weapons had surprised the enemy, but the sheer numbers arrayed against them were taking their toll. They needed something more, a decisive advantage. The answer came from Dr. Ishida. After days immersed in the sphere's data, rarely sleeping or eating, he emerged with red-rimmed eyes and a look of wonder on his face. "I've accessed the core data," he announced to the War Council. "I know who we were, who we are." The images he shared painted an astonishing picture. Humanity had indeed once ruled a vast interstellar empire. From Earth, they had spread across the stars, becoming the first true galactic civilization. Their technology had been millennia beyond what even the most advanced current species possessed. But something had gone catastrophically wrong. Whether it was civil war, a weapon that couldn't be controlled, or some external threat, the records were unclear. What was clear was that the empire had fallen. Most of humanity had perished. The survivors, reduced to primitive conditions, had rebuilt on Earth, losing all memory of their former greatness. Before the fall, Ishida explained, they scattered devices like our sphere throughout the galaxy. Time capsules of sorts, meant to help humanity rebuild if it ever reached the stars again. "Why didn't we find them sooner?" Admiral Zhao asked. "They were designed to remain dormant until human genetic signatures were detected off-world in sufficient numbers," Ishida replied. "Our recent expansion into space must have triggered the awakening protocols." Helena saw the strategic implications immediately. Does the sphere contain information about other devices? Other caches of first-race technology? Ishida nodded. Coordinates for dozens of repositories across the galaxy, each containing technology that would recognize us, and only us, as its rightful users. It was the advantage they needed. As the battle raged above and around Earth, Helena formulated a bold plan. Using the coordinates from the sphere, a small task force would slip through the enemy blockade and race to the nearest repository, securing additional first-race technology that could turn the tide. The Argos, with its systems already partially enhanced by the sphere, was the obvious choice to lead the mission. Helena selected her crew carefully, those who had demonstrated the strongest connection to the awakened ancient systems. Dr. Ishida, whose bond with the sphere was undeniable, would accompany them to interface with whatever they found. Ward would oversee security, his natural tactical instincts seemingly amplified by their ancestral heritage. As they prepared to depart under the cover of a massive counterattack by Earth's remaining forces, Admiral Zhao pulled Helena aside. "If Ishida is right, if we really are the first race, then what we do next shapes not just Earth's future, but the galaxy's. Remember that, Captain." Helena nodded solemnly. "History won't repeat itself, Admiral. We won't become conquerors again, but we won't be victims either." The Argos slipped away from Earth during the fiercest fighting, using temporary gaps in the enemy blockade. With its enhanced systems, it outran pursuers and made for the coordinates of the nearest repository, a small moon orbiting a gas giant in a nearby star system. There, they found another complex similar to the one on Baron X-17, but larger and better preserved. And within its depths, they discovered what Ishida called the ancestral engine, a power source that made even the sphere seem primitive by comparison. With this new technology secured and hastily integrated into the Argos' systems, they raced back to Earth, arriving to find the battle had reached a critical phase. Earth's defenses were failing under the relentless assault. The planetary shield was flickering, sections going dark as power nodes were destroyed. The Argos rejoined the fight, now wielding weapons that tore, through enemy formations with devastating efficiency. The ancestral engine provided power that allowed them to create disruption fields affecting dozens of enemy ships simultaneously. Seeing what one enhanced vessel could do, the alien coalition directed overwhelming force against the Argos. Helena's ship took hit after hit, systems failing despite their enhancements. In the final moment, with destruction seeming inevitable, Helena ordered all power diverted to the ancestral engine. The resulting energy pulse expanded outward in a sphere of blue-white light, engulfing the enemy fleet. When the light faded, every non-human ship within its radius hung dormant in space, their systems completely neutralized. The pulse had recognized them as unauthorized users and had executed ancient defense protocols, shutting down their technology without destroying the vessels themselves. The battle for Earth had ended, not with the planet's destruction, but with a demonstration of power so overwhelming that the remaining enemy forces retreated in disarray. Earth had survived, though not without cost. Cities lay in ruins from orbital bombardments that had penetrated the shields. Millions had perished defending their homeworld. But humanity stood unbowed, and more importantly, awakened to their true heritage. In the aftermath, as the wounded planet began to heal, Helena stood in the UEC headquarters overlooking the reconstruction efforts. The smoking ruins of once proud cities were already being rebuilt, now incorporating elements of the ancient technology they had recovered. The Karn Empire has requested negotiations, Admiral Zhao informed her, joining her at the viewport. Several other powers have followed suit. It seems they've reassessed their position on humanity's place in the galactic community. Helena nodded grimly. They tried to exterminate us rather than face the possibility we might reclaim our heritage. That's not something easily forgotten or forgiven. No, the Admiral agreed. But neither can we afford an indefinite war with the entire galaxy. We've won a battle, Captain Rourke, but establishing lasting peace will require different weapons than those we wielded today. Dr. Ishida joined them, his face bearing the haggard look of someone who had seen too much in too short a time, yet his eyes burned with the excitement of discovery. I've completed the full decoding of the sphere's core data, he announced. The history it contains, it's remarkable. Over the next hours, he shared the true story of humanity's past, an empire that had spanned the galaxy, begun on Earth millions of years ago. Humanity had been the first spacefaring species, expanding outward when other intelligent life was still in its evolutionary infancy. For eons, humans had ruled, sometimes benevolently, sometimes tyrannically. They had seeded worlds, guided evolution, created and destroyed as they saw fit. The other species that now populated the galaxy had developed under human oversight, some as subjects, others as clients, a few as partners. Then came what the records called the Great Catastrophe. A civil war had erupted among human factions, employing weapons of such destructive power that entire star systems had been obliterated. In the end, with their civilization in ruins, the survivors had made a desperate decision. Some retreated to Earth, using technology to erase their own memories of the past, choosing to begin again in ignorance rather than carry the burden of their mistakes. Others scattered to distant worlds, entering long-term stasis, leaving behind the spheres and other devices as guideposts for their descendants, if humanity ever rose again to claim the stars. So that's why they feared us, Helena said softly when Ishida had finished. They remembered what we had forgotten. The humans once held power over them all. And might again, Ward added. He had been promoted to commander following his leadership during the battle. The question is, what do we do with this knowledge? With this power? Helena turned from the viewport to face her companions. We announce the truth, she said firmly, to our people and to the galaxy. We acknowledge our past, both its glories and its failures. And we make it clear that we have no desire to re-establish the old empire. Some will never believe that, Ward cautioned. They'll see us as an eternal threat now that we've awakened to our heritage. Then we'll have to prove it through actions, not just words, Helena replied. starting with how we handle the ships and crews disabled by the ancestral engine. They came to destroy us, but we'll send them home unharmed with a message. In the weeks that followed, Earth began to rebuild in earnest. The ancient technology, now being carefully studied and integrated into human society, accelerated recovery efforts. More repositories were located and secured, each yielding new wonders and further insights into humanity's forgotten past. Diplomatic channels, long frozen by the crisis, gradually reopened. Many species remained wary, but others, particularly those whose own record suggested they had once been allies rather than subjects of the ancient human empire, sought new relationships. Gideon Ward was given command of the Discovery Fleet, a new division tasked with locating and securing additional first-race artifacts throughout the galaxy. His experiences had transformed him from a skeptic to a believer in humanity's greater destiny. Dr. Ishida continued his work with a growing database of ancient knowledge, establishing the foundation of ancestral studies to ensure that humanity's rediscovered heritage would be used wisely, learning from the mistakes that had led to their ancestors' downfall. And Helena Rourke, now Admiral Rourke, stood on the bridge of the Argos II, a new vessel incorporating the best of both modern human engineering and recovered first-race technology. Through the main viewport, she watched as a fleet of similar ships assembled in Earth orbit. Not a war fleet, but an exploration force prepared to reintroduce humanity to the galaxy on new terms. Course laid in, Admiral, her navigator reported. The diplomatic delegation is ready to depart for the summit at the Velari Nexus. Helena nodded, a slight smile playing across her features. They were too late, she said softly, almost to herself. Admiral, her first officer inquired. The aliens, Helena clarified. They discovered too late that humanity was the first and oldest power in the galaxy. But their mistake wasn't in failing to recognize our past. It was in failing to see that we've changed, that we can learn from history rather than repeat it. She straightened in her command chair, her voice carrying across the bridge with calm authority. Take us out, Commander. The galaxy's waiting. As the Argos II led the fleet away from Earth, its advanced engines leaving trails of blue-white energy against the blackness of space, Helena reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. From a dusty, forgotten world to the threshold of a new era for humanity and all sentient species. They had awakened to their heritage, but they would forge their own future, not as conquerors reclaiming a lost empire, but as the eldest children of the stars, accepting the responsibilities that came with their newfound knowledge. The signal went out across vast distances, carried by technologies both ancient and new. Humanity had returned to the galactic stage, not as the subjugators of old, but as the inheritors of a legacy they were determined to reshape. The adventure, as Helena had told her crew, was only beginning.